Hello, I hope you're well. In this video, I'm going to talk to you all about inner child healing, inner child practices, or the work, so that you have a better understanding on what it is, what it could look like if you lean into this type of therapeutic work, this type of somatic healing, and to also give you an understanding when you hear these words out there. Inner child healing and inner child work is something that is becoming more readily available and understood. So my hope is that you can experience and receive some education on this, so that you know what people are talking about and know if it's right for you, and maybe even experience a bit of support in this video as well. So I have been offering inner child healing work for about, since 2019. And this has been one of the most transformative practices and tools that I've learned. I do have a lot of tools in my experience and my tool belt, and this is one that I see becoming relevant with every single person, every single body, and almost in every single session that I share with a client. What that looks like is specifically finding where the feeling of childlike wonderment or play or innocence lives in your body on a sensation level, which is called felt senses. Felt senses are essentially a sensation in your body that tells us information on what is going on, either in your emotions, your thoughts, or your energetic state inside of that sensation. Because all of these sensations in your body are holding experiences, feelings, information on what it's like to be you, or what it's like to be a part, specifically from parts work theory. A part would be an inner child. That would be one part. So first, there's a process of discovering this childlike wonderment, this inner child state of being inside of your body. One space that I see it come up a lot is the inner child lives in the heart or in the lower belly. And I've also seen the inner child show up in the hands, the arms, like the throat, the shoulders, literally everywhere. The heart and the lower belly, I would say, have been more common from my perspective, and it can show up everywhere. So there's this discovery of where does the inner child live in your body. And once that's understood, it can be really easy to then begin to notice, let's say in a fight with your partner or your parent, or out in the world when you're having big feelings, you can then begin to understand, like, oh, is this little me inside that is the one who is coming on board, that is the one in the driver's seat. And from that space, I begin to support you to have a conversation with little you, to understand how they're feeling, what's going on, how old do they think you are, how old are they? Because sometimes if there's a part of you that's been hurt, that's stuck in, let's say, 5-year-old you past, maybe that part doesn't believe that you're an adult. Maybe that part doesn't even believe that you're trustworthy in order to take the leadership on your love life or your sex life or your career and your purpose. Or maybe they don't trust that you're going to let them play, so they have taken on too much responsibility. So it's a lot of gaining clarity and information and insight on if there's this inner child part, which every single person has, because we've all been a 5-year-old. If you haven't been a 5-year-old at one point in your life, then you're not watching this video. So that part has been experienced. You have been that person, and you have access to that information of what it was like to be that. And often what happens is there's still an inner child inside of you that has a consciousness, that has a say, and wants to stay with you and get to know you and support you on your journey throughout life. So there's a whole massive conversation that happens. This is gestalt theory, if you like the nerdery of it, which essentially means that you're taking that part. So parts work, felt sense, these are some of the terms that, I want to support you to understand. So there's the part, the felt sense, and then when you take and discover that inner child, you can then bring this inner child onto a pillow beside you to have a conversation. So you're sitting on one pillow, the inner child is like symbolically sitting on another pillow. This is gestalt work, gestalt theory, and these are some of my favorite things to work with in a session, while at the same time, all of these tools and practices I'm leading with intuition, with somatic arts therapy, which just means like presence, love, compassion, tuning in and attuning to the energy of the session with the inner child and the adult who's come into the space with me. And through that process, there's this incredible discovery that happens. There's this discovery of, past hurt that hasn't been heard or supported or loved. There's this discovery of this beautiful inner playfulness that has maybe been like trapped for a little while and wants the adult to know that it needs more time to play, that it hasn't got a chance to be in playfulness. So there's this beautiful discovery that comes, and through that, instead of having the inner child run the show unconsciously, which is exactly what's happening when you're not in conversation and consciousness with your inner child, through this parts work and gestalt theory, you're then bringing the inner child to consciousness, to the light, to the surface, in order to have a conversation with adult you. And sometimes another aspect of yourself comes in as well, or maybe it's a guide that could be an ancestor or your own inner parent. And on the most basic level, your inner child I'm guiding to have a conversation with adult you. And through that, there begins to be this integration, meaning they're having a conversation. Adult you is having a conversation with little you. So you can imagine if a little 5-year-old was like tugging at your clothes, trying to get your attention, and your adult self was ignoring this little 5-year-old. Maybe the 5-year-old is hungry, maybe the 5-year-old is sad, maybe the 5-year-old is angry, or just wants to play, just has any needs or wants, and is tugging at you, and you ignore it. You don't listen. What's going to happen is that 5-year-old is going to either get louder or it's going to shut down. It's going to shut down because it now has this understanding that it doesn't matter what it says or what it does, that it's not going to be heard, it's not going to be supported. And there becomes this numbing, this isolation, this aloneness and disconnect. And children do not thrive in that ecosystem. They thrive in connection. They thrive in support and compassion and love and play. So this work is really about supporting that inner child to experience repair if it has been isolated, to experience support and being heard if it has feelings about something. And then the integration with the adult you requires and usually invites a process of leadership, of boundaries, of offering a container for your inner child to be guided. The same way you would, again, teach a 5-year-old, look left, look right, are there any cars coming? And then get the child to be like, there are not any cars coming. So that means that I can safely cross the street. Or as the adult, to encourage the child to look left and look right and, do that work themselves. But if you see the child about to run into the street and a car is coming and there's no time for the teaching lesson, as the adult, it's your responsibility to protect that child from running out in front of that car. So you gotta grab the child sometime to keep the child safe. So you're essentially discerning what this inner child needs from you right now in this next step. You're discerning, do I need to really spend time with this child every day in meditation or in a playful practice, dressing up all sweet and fun, dancing, and offering play for this child? Or do I need to spend 5 minutes a day with my inner child and encourage a boundary for safety, a boundary for protection? That's what boundaries are. They protect us, they keep us safe. So a boundary could be letting the inner child know that when it comes to adult responsibilities like sex, dating, really intense relationship conversations, making big life decisions on your career, that is for the adult and not for the child to take on as a responsibility. Those are the times where the child can go play. Maybe you can, metaphorically, energetically imagine the child going to play with an animal friend, or in nature, or in somewhere, maybe in a beautiful room for this child. So this is the process of creating boundaries and integrating this inner child that often gets stuck in the past and needs to learn that it's okay to trust you, that it's caught up with the present moment. It's caught up with how old you actually are now. You're not 5 anymore, even though there's a part of you that is and was 5 and is still there to love you and guide you. And there's an adult age. And so you're teaching this inner child, you're being guided to teach this child about your wisdom, about everything that you've learned as an adult. And you get to give back to past you. You get to give back to your inner child all of this love and play and compassion that either it didn't receive in the past or just wants to receive now because it deserves to. So there's this beautiful repair that can happen when you bridge these two parts. There's this intimacy that happens when you bridge the inner child with the adult self. And so how that can end up supporting you is you might explore more secure attachments with yourself. You might completely rewrite the narrative of what it means to be a caregiver, a leader, or what it means to be caring and protected and safe. You can actually rewire your nervous system and your neural pathways where the past experiences are not sending this trauma information, this danger loop to your present, and instead you're actually sending the energy and neural pathways of safety and love to the past. Almost like I've experienced it personally as a timeline jump. I've experienced it in very profound ways and witnessed these very profound timeline jumps in my clients as adult self going back to the scary moments in the past, going back to any moments when little you felt scared or alone, unsafe, confused, misunderstood, and now actually feels like it's experiencing adult you in that past experience as if it always happened like that. So I've witnessed and experienced profound shifts from having this integration with the past and the present. And there becomes this bridge. That's why I'm so in support of this work, is it bridges these realities. It creates agency and sovereignty and change and hope in the nervous system, in the bones, in the body, in order to then step into your day right now in a new way, holding little you in your heart, holding little you on your shoulders and your back, and going out and walking with little you, holding them, supporting them, and loving them, and learning how to co-create the life that would feel really good for adult you, for past 5-year-old you, or maybe it's your teenage self. The most common ages that I've witnessed in the inner child parts work healing is 5 years old, 7 years old, 12 years old, and like 16 to 18. Those seem to be just really potent timestamps of experiences in our younger years. And whatever age comes up in the session, and sometimes all those ages come up, when I work with clients for multiple weeks, months, even a year in my mentorship programs, often we get to all of those places, all of those parts, and then eventually we get to the present moment, which it just becomes more digestible to be with the experiences that are here and now, instead of being in debt to all of this past hurt, this past trauma, and these past moments of rupture that can really stagnate and suspend a part of you in time. And that can feel really exhausting. It can feel overwhelming and scary and confusing. So there's support to retrieve lost parts, retrieve these beautiful childlike states, these beautiful innocence energies, to be held and supported and integrated into your day and life right now. And then you get to decide how you want to experience life with them. You get to read books, you get to learn about attachment theory. You can literally carry these beautiful parts of you, all these ages, these inner child parts. You can carry them with you as your family. You can bring them with you on adventures, or offer them a sanctuary to hang out while you go and do some of the harder adult things. Like, the kid doesn't need to be there if you're paying the mortgage or doing your taxes or having a serious conversation. And it's up to you to decide like how you want to parent your inner child. This can also be incredibly healing for if you have your own children, or you just want to learn about other children in your life and how you want to be a guide or a support system for them. It doesn't have to be, but at the very least you can free yourself from any beliefs or trauma that is holding you back from witnessing the play and the innocence and secure love in yourself and in other people or other kids. Like, that's what makes this work so relatable, is even if you don't have kids or don't want to have kids, you were a child. And so this work is relevant to every single person. And I've also seen it create profound change in people who have kids or want to have kids, in order to rewrite the story of what it looks like to be loved and guided in the world. And so from that place, you can choose your own adventure. You can be more in your agency, more in choice. You can step into your desires in life from this freedom and empowerment, or at the very least clarity and knowledge and understanding. Understanding and clarity is so vital for choice. For, maybe nothing changes in your life, maybe everything changes, maybe little tiny incremental changes happen, but it gets to be from that wisdom and understanding, instead of repeating old cycles over and over and over again and getting stuck in the past, stuck in old trauma, stuck in things that were passed down to you from parent to parent to parent. This work transcends those timelines in order to create a new reality for your inner child, for your adult self, for the innocence in the planet. My favorite narrative that I've rewritten for my inner child is one of protection, one of security and love and permission. This unshaming, secure, unconditional love, supportive reality. And this has rewritten abandonment trauma. This has redirected a history of abuse in my family. My inner child and my heart and my adult self, they get to experience this life where they're safe and loved and supported. And it was hard. It was a lot of work, and incredibly worth it, because I believe in growth mindset. I believe in expansion. Obviously, that's why I spent the last, since 2019 learning about attachment theory, learning about parts work and gestalt and somatic arts and intimacy coaching. This is on the deepest level intimacy. When I support my clients to have either, the most common thing that people come to me for is they want to have a better sex life, more sacred sex life, or they want to feel more self-love. There's 95% of the time there is a block with their inner child. The inner child is taking over, has unmet needs or wants, and before we can step into the adult stuff, that inner child has to be heard and supported. So that's what I mean when I say at the deepest level, this is intimacy. Our first experiences of intimacy are when we are a baby, when we're being held, or lack of intimacy from not being held. This is the first experience of intimacy. Being a baby is intimate. Being held is intimate. Being fed is intimate. We're so innocent. We need the support of others. There's intimacy in that. So it's going back to the innocence of intimacy, supporting, offering care, and a container to be held and secure and get the needs met, so that adult you can go and have adult experiences, so that there can be healthy separation, because there is a difference between being a child and being an adult. So if little you doesn't know that, there's going to be this super messy, chaotic, knotted, tangled crossover, versus this understanding of what each part's roles are, and when each part is in their experience, that is suited for adult or child. So, may this information support you to understand maybe some things that you're experiencing or going through. May this offer you clarity in some of the therapeutic terms and tools that you hear out in the world: somatics, inner child, gestalt, parts work, felt sense, trauma. May this support you to have an expanded understanding, beginning mindset, or reminder and invitation of the value and vitality of this work. One thing that I do witness a lot is like some pretty heavy procrastination and resistance on inner child healing. And like I said, there comes a point when the child is screaming for your attention. And if you ignore that child, it's going to get louder. That's going to show up in your body, in your thoughts, in your feelings. You're going to have temper tantrums, adult temper tantrums. You're going to get angry. You're going to get sad. You're going to blow shit up. Or it's going to completely shut down and numb out and like feel isolated and alone. And my goal and invitation is, if you hear and feel your inner child calling and asking for support, is do your best to not procrastinate, to not ignore, to not push away, so that your inner child can be heard and seen and understood. You know, now is the moment. It's all happening right now. We are here now. We're here in the present moment. So let's explore, let's play, let's get curious and understand ourselves deeply. The process of unfurling and untangling these parts can lead to incredible visions for your life, incredible understanding and love and safety. And of course, all of these things that I'm sharing can only truly be experienced and understood and felt in your body. So it's one thing for me to share and speak to them, but your experience will be understood in a session, in an experience of inner child healing, and however you access that. You know, I feel just excitement and support for your inner child to be supported and loved, even just in this video. If your inner child is feeling heard and understood even a tiny bit more, I just feel gratitude and joy for that process. So wherever you are on your inner child healing journey, whether you're diving in, whether you're just curious, whether you are advanced in this process, thank you for doing the tender work to be heard by yourself. Thank you for doing the tender work to rewrite trauma patterns, rewrite, history, rewrite ancestral beliefs, and create your own reality that feels nurturing and nourishing and aligned for your highest good. So much love. Thank you for being with me in this video and this experience. I always feel these shares in my heart and in my body and spirit in a very felt way. So thank you for sharing in this felt experience with me. And if you have any questions, I love hearing from you all. So if you have questions, I encourage a comment, and I would love to respond and reply and interact with you and engage or get to know you. And if you want to dive into this inner child work, you can hop into a session with me or a mentorship package, and we can get you all the support that you need. Just sending you so much love and gratitude and support wherever you are on this journey.